there's another fairly interesting heavyweight fight taking place over in Turkey, in Istanbul, on the 22nd of this month, between two former world title challengers, Odlanier Solis of Cuba and Tony Thompson of America. Most of you guys know these two fighters very, very well. Solis obviously was an outstanding amateur, and he had that famous or infamous fight with Vitaly Klitschko where he ended up losing in the first round because he blew out his knee. And Tony Thompson obviously has been around for a very long time, had 2 shots against Vladimir Klitschko, got stopped in both fights. And then he was famous in the UK, at least, for coming over here and beating up David Price twice. So 2 experienced campaigners, 2 good boxers. Be an interesting fight to see where they're both at the moment. Obviously, Tony Thompson is a lot older. Solis, I believe, is about 33 years old. I think he's around 33 years old. Thompson is in his early 40s, so there's going to be nearly a 10-year age gap. Now, the whole thing with Solis is that he's always been supremely talented, has a whole heap of skills, but time and time again, he lets himself down every time he steps in the ring because his conditioning is atrocious. This guy just cannot keep himself out of Burger King and KFC and McDonald's and, Wendy's, wherever the hell this guy goes. He just can't keep himself out of those places, and he can't keep himself in the gym long enough to get in condition on a consistent basis. This guy is always at least 20 pounds overweight. Even when he fought Vitaly Klitschko for the heavyweight title, the guy came in 20 pounds over the kind of weight he should be in, the kind of weight range he should be at. And he blew out his knee as a result. And last I heard, Odlanier Solis' trainer told him, he gave Solis an ultimatum and said, look, if you don't fix up, if you don't change your ways and start training like a professional, then I can't train you no more. I can't be in your camp. I'm going to walk away from you. And apparently since then, Solis has been training more diligently, but talk is cheap. We'll see what he weighs in at when the fight takes place. I want to see this guy at the very most in the mid 230s. Really and truly, this guy needs to be in the low 220s. This guy was a cruiserweight as an amateur. Okay, he's supposed to be probably no more than 218 to 220, maybe 224 at the most. There's no way this guy needs to be in the 230s, no. But considering the fact that he's had to lose a lot of weight, the guy's been up in the 260s, 270s and stuff like that. Considering he's had to lose a lot of weight, if he has been losing weight, then being in a 230, maybe in the mid to low 230s, that could be acceptable for now. We'll just have to wait and see, man. I hope the guy gets in shape. It's frustrating seeing him not in shape because I know this guy has so much ability and so much potential, so much talent. But he's never going to make the most of that talent if he keeps on disrespecting himself by not getting in the best of condition and lacking the discipline. And he's going up against Tony Thompson, who obviously has a big height and reach. And, well, actually, I'm not sure about the reach. I'm not sure about the arm length, but he definitely has a height advantage. He's definitely going to try and fight long and keep Solis on the outside. Solis is very good on the inside. He's good on the outside, but to be honest, he's even better at mid and close range. Throws very good counter punches. He's a very cerebral fighter. He knows how to fight in a variety of different ways. But like I said, because of his condition, he doesn't always do everything as equally as effectively. And if he was in real condition, this guy would be a serious problem in the heavyweight division. But as it stands right now, it's an interesting heavyweight fight. And I listened to an interview with Tony Thompson over on, I believe it was on Boxing Beats and Rams channel. It was either on Boxing Beats and Rams channel or 78 Fight News' channel. And I was listening to an interview with Tony Thompson. And fighters have a lot of pride. Fighters, in boxing especially, there's a thin line between self-belief and self-delusion. Fighters have to have a certain amount of self-belief. They have to have an ability to block out all the critics and all the naysayers and believe in themselves. Because if they go listening to critics all the time and go listening to naysayers, people who say, you can't do this, you can't make it, you're going to get beaten. If they listen to people like that, then they'll never achieve anything. But then they get into a catch-22 situation where they're so used to listening to themselves that when a time does come, when they're past their sell-by date, they never listen to people who say they should retire. They never listen to people who say, maybe you lost that fight because the guy's just better than you or you're coming to the end of the road. They never want to listen to that because they've been used to ignoring the critics and the naysayers their whole career, and that is what has allowed them to achieve success in their career up to a point. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation. It's the mentality that brought you success can also be your biggest downfall. And when I was listening to that interview with Tony Thompson, he was making a lot of excuses about, or, you know, for his losses to Vladimir Klitschko, and he was making excuses about his loss to Kubrat Pulev, basically blaming it all on injuries, or in a situation with a Pulev fight, he said that he wasn't in condition and this, that, and the other. And I'm not here to say that he's lying. I'm definitely not saying he's lying. I'm not saying that he didn't have injuries or whatever going into those fights, but he wasn't necessarily in the best shape when he fought David Price, and he still won. You get what I'm saying? I think the impression I had from those interviews is that Thompson wasn't giving enough credit to the guys who actually beat him. He basically, especially Pulev, he basically gave no credit to Kubrat Pulev at all. He said if he was in any kind of shape, he would have knocked Pulev out. And I just don't agree with that, man. I don't agree with that. I think Pulev has a kind of style where he makes it awkward for you, especially the longer the fight goes. He definitely had his moments early in the fight against Pulev, but Pulev has this way of messing with the distance and the range and using his jab. And it can be tiring, mentally tiring on a fighter. If they don't manage to catch him early on, it can be mentally tiring when he's constantly in and out of range, constantly banging his jab in your face. You know, I can see why Pulev is effective. Even though he looks like a basic fighter to the uninitiated, I can see the things that he does in there that frustrate his opponents and ultimately lead them to making mistakes, which he capitalizes on. So I don't think he was giving Pulev enough credit. I think Pulev would beat Tony Thompson regardless if Tony Thompson is in shape or not. Because again, Tony Thompson said he was carrying an injury in the first Vladimir fight. When the second Vladimir fight came up, he said, I'm injury free now. I'm going to win the fight. He went in there and he lost even worse than he lost the first time. And then after the second Vladimir fight, he said, well, I was actually injured all along. You know, obviously fighters don't go into fights admitting they have injuries because they don't want to give their opponent any type of psychological edge. They don't want to show any type of weakness which their opponent might be able to exploit. But that's just my feeling, man, that Thompson is just not being realistic about, you know, why he lost certain fights. And here against Solis, I'm definitely favoring Solis in the fight. Okay, I think it's a good fight. I'm not saying Thompson can't win it. I think Thompson probably can win it. Stylistically, not so much stylistically, even though he does have an awkward southpaw style, but because of the fact that Solis is never in shape, I think it gives Thompson a good chance to win the fight. But I'm still going to go with Solis. I think he has the better skills. I think he has the better defense. And I don't know, I just trust Solis' ability a bit more than Thompson's ability at this stage. Even if Solis isn't in the greatest of condition, I trust Solis. So if I had to pick a winner, I would go with Solis winning the fight, probably on a decision. I definitely wouldn't rule out Thompson winning because, again, this is going to be a technical fight. It is going to be a technical fight. Both guys can box. Both guys are cerebral. Both guys have little cute moves here and there. But I just think Solis is just a bit more skilled. And even though he's out of condition, I think he should be able to take care of Thompson and get a points decision. Now, if he's in any kind of real shape, if we see Solis all of a sudden come out in good condition, then there's a chance that he might be able to stop Thompson, maybe later on in the fight. But assuming he's not in good condition and he's still 235 upwards, then I expect Solis to win a decision. But I'll be interested to see the fight because, you know, Solis is one of those guys I've always been frustrated by. I want to see him fulfill his potential. He has so much ability. I just wish he would get in shape. So every Solis fight, I just watch him hoping that this time he turns up in shape so we can see what this guy really has. But so far in his career, he's disappointed me. Maybe I really should just turn my back on him and stop watching his fights. But, you know, we'll see anyway, man. I'm going to watch this one, which will be taking place in Turkey. So, yeah, a little bit of a long-winded video. But let me know how you feel about the whole situation with Odlanier Solis facing off against Tony Thompson. Who do you think is going to win the fight? Drop your comments below. This is Hatman. I'm out.